Oh, hang on. I think I'm off on a few here. There we are.
Good morning. We'll give you guys a few seconds to log in.
Yeah, this one's a little late, huh? Oops.
Only a minute. Good morning. While everybody is logging in, I'll go over our intro. Today's presenter is Geoffrey Scott, our technical assistance engineer, and he'll be presenting on the asset management. I will be throwing the handout and any other information into the chat once we get started. If you have any questions, you can put them in the Q&A and Jody and myself will get through them and get those questions to Jeff. If you have any technical issues, you can also throw them in the Q&A and we'll try and solve them as well. You have to be on the webinar today for 90% of it to receive PDHs and 75% to receive a attendance certificate. And lastly, all of the poll questions will be done in Zoom. So I will start one right now. So if you can pull up the poll questions. The first one is, I work for. So do you work for the town, county, city or village, state or federal, tribal, private, or the weekend? If you can't access the poll, that's fine. You can throw it in the Q&A. It looks like we have a good mix today, Jeff. We have a bunch of town, county, city, village, state and federal, private, and my favorite people working for the weekend. Next question we have is my job is, so administration, highway superintendent or DPW commissioner, engineer, field crew, board member, or none of the above. If you are none of the above, if you could throw that in the Q&A just to let us know. Oh, we have a director. Very nice. And it looks like we have mostly engineers, but a little bit of everybody. And we have a project engineer in the Q&A as well. And then the last question from me for now. We have years in your current position. So less than 1 month, less than 1 year, 1 to 2 years, 3 to 5 years, 5 to 10 years, 11 to 20 years, and 20 years plus. And again, we got a good range. We have some people less than a month, and then we have some people 20 plus years. So a nice grouping of knowledge. And with that, I will turn this over to Jeff and we will get started.
You'll close you out of that. Did you do the detail things?
Oh, nope, I forgot. You can raise your, the Q&A, the chat, and you can raise your hand if you have a question. And don't leave the meeting until we're done.
What about PDHs?
Oh yeah, yep, we covered those.
So this is worth only 1 PDH in New York, and only the person registered will get it. If there's a couple of you on there, let Amanda know. Again, I don't know what all this remember is, but I don't usually do this part. So again, if you're not registered, but you're attending, let Amanda know, and we'll work with you to try to get you a PDH for that. If you work for other states, you can work with your LTAP center as well to try to get credit for this. All right. So we're going to talk about asset management today. I guess some of the things as we're going along here, kind of think about what assets are you dealing with? What do you got to manage? What are the ones that are critical? Just to kind of put it into perspective on, how this will relate to what you're doing. I guess when it comes to New York State with highway ownership, which is probably the largest asset most people have. Essentially, as you can see here, towns own 50% of the roads in New York State. followed by cities with 18%. Well, cities have 18%, villages 6%, counties have 18%. And the state, despite the fact that they're all over in the main roads we travel on, are only 13% of the roads. So again, when it comes right down to what the locals deal with, it's a good majority of the roads in New York State. When it comes to funding, that's another critter we got to deal with here. The source of funding typically comes from our local taxes. Supports approximately 89% of the expenses needed to maintain our roads. So really, our taxes are going out, but the state taxes don't necessarily come back for our roads. The local taxes are the ones that technically take care of a good majority of the roads we got to deal with. So again, something to think about as we're maintaining our roads and keeping them together, and any of our equipment for that matter. It's pretty critical. The funding we have never gets more, it always gets less. And if it doesn't decrease, the value of the dollar certainly does. Again, what is asset management? It's not a new concept. And everybody does some sort of asset management. It's just really, where do you focus on it? So just kind of looking at it, it's not necessarily going to replace what you're doing, but it's just another way of looking at it. Asset management systems essentially are a formal maintenance program. Provides a systematic, consistent approach to evaluate the present condition of each road asset. Again, roads are part of it. Determines the proper type of maintenance to fix those distresses. And the idea is to prevent any kind of accelerated degradation that might be occurring. But again, we all do some sort of management, asset management. Whether it's effective or not, it really depends on how you do it and how often you do it, and how diligent you are. Several methods that are out there. As I mentioned, everybody does some sort of maintenance program. Last year's budget, basically, where you just develop, you base your new budget off of the previous budget, with arbitrary increases or decreases. You're really not taking into consideration of what needs to be done. You're just adjusting on what you're allowed to have. There's always the squeaky wheel. That's where the budgets are developed in response to the residents. Somebody's got a really poor road in front of their house. They constantly at the board meeting complaining and whining. So you go out there and you spend a good portion of your budget just fixing a road that maybe 30 people in the town use. Might not be the best way to go. It might be a standard program. That basically it's an established program based on periodic maintenance, such as seal coats every 5 years or overlays every 10 years, in which, if you have good roads, this may actually be a good way of maintaining them. But if you have roads that are failing, covering them over isn't necessarily the most cost-effective way of doing it. There's always the worst first. That's where major maintenance is spent. Is prioritized over on the worst first basis. Again, spending all of your funds on the worst road, and while it may fix that main road or that one road, it may not be one of the more important roads within your jurisdiction that you're dealing with. And it may make sense, but if you can keep good roads in good shape and then fix the other ones as funding allows, you're going to get a lot more long-term effectiveness. There's always the political pressure, using political considerations to establish programs and budgets. I worked in Dutchess County one time, years ago, and the village we were working in, or the office was in, essentially just before election day, they paved the roads. They did an overlay on all the village roads. They looked real good. About after the election came on, about 2 weeks later, it snowed. When they plowed the road, all that asphalt came right up, and they ended up cleaning it off the sidewalks. So political considerations aren't necessarily the best way to go. Again, having a plan, doing it the right time, getting the most bang for your buck is really what you want to do. And then there's always the gut feeling. This is typically develop a budget based on knowledge and experience. A lot of this highway superintendents that are are actually doing their roads have a really good knowledge of what the roads are. And they know which road needs to be done. They know which one needs to be fixed. So they're basically using their gut experience and their gut feeling on what one should be done and doing their planning and budgeting that way. While that's effective, it's not very easy to transfer that to the next guy. So again, having something documentable is going to be a lot more worthwhile as far as transitioning. Again, some of the maintenance decisions, whether individually or in combination, may work when you have adequate funds, but in a lot of cases, not necessarily. Again, where should your maintenance be focused? Especially with a tight fiscal environment, some of these things ought to be considered. Where should you focus that maintenance? Again, as I mentioned, maintaining good roads in good shape are going to keep them in good shape for a longer period of time. What will happen if the funding is changed, increased or decreased? How's that going to affect your budgeting, your planning, your overall road conditions? What is the most effective maintenance for each of those assets, whether it's a roadway or a piece of equipment? Now, again, you want to try to fix it. You don't want to just patch it and get another week out of it. How can you spend the funding in a most cost-effective way? Again, having that plan, having an understanding of what's going on is going to help you do that. Again, do you have a plan for the next 5 years? If you can plan and know where your assets are, your roadways, your equipment, know which ones are in good shape, which ones need minor repairs, you're going to get a lot more life out of that. It's pretty much it's going to be essential if you really want to try to develop some means of evaluating what you're responsible for. You need to assess the conditions of those assets, weigh the alternatives, and establish a long-term program based on your budgets to get it. So essentially you can achieve those goals. The pavement costs, for the most part, pavements and most particularly local roads have just basically evolved over years. They've started out as a lot of them may have started out as wagon trails or horse trails, wagon trails, widened to be deal with the automobiles, further widened to deal with the local roads now, given standards, but they haven't really been designed from the base up. So part of the problem is these roads have just evolved, so it's difficult in some cases to get 30 years or 20 years or 15 years out of a roadway when its subbase is not really anticipated on having the loads that we have on them today. With price changes, increases, funding decreases, the maintenance budget gets worse and worse. It's not better. So it's a lot more difficult to deal with the assets that we have. So again, having an understanding what's going on is going to be a lot more beneficial. Looking at the whole picture. This is an example of pavement condition over a period of time. You notice that over 75% of the time, the condition of that road is, if it's again properly built road, 75% of the time you're going to have a decrease in that condition of about 40%. It's going to go from very good to between good and fair. But once you reach that point of good and fair, you start to get cracks in there. The moisture starts to get in there. Loads start working the pavement because the moisture's in there. The subbase starts moving. That pavement starts to shatter. That next 17%, you're going to lose another 40% of the life and the value of that pavement. So again, the idea if you can maintain that road and keep it in good shape, you're going to get a lot more life and benefit out of the bang for as far as a bang for your buck. As an example here, got a pavement section built about 12 years ago. It's in need of a surface treatment right now, or whether it's a slurry seal or a chip seal or whatever it might be, something to seal that surface. That's going to be an estimated $20,000. And nothing's cheap. It's going to vary from year to year, location to location. If that action is deferred for 4 years, allowing time for that pavement to become structurally damaged, again, the cracks start to show up. it's going to require something a little bit stronger. If you've still got a solid base, you can do a thick overlay. But now the cost is upwards of $60,000 to $80,000, and those numbers again are constantly rising with the cost of asphalt. Again, if you put it off again, you wait too long. That cost is going to skyrocket to 150 to 200,000. So the idea is basically if we can maintain those roads while they're in good shape and keep them, it's going to be a lot more cost effective. And that's what we need to be looking at is the funding that's available. So again, this is kind of what we're focusing on. Again, this is for pavement, but it goes for all assets that we've owned. The old saying, you can pay me now or pay me later. Asset management can be a case of penny wise and pound foolish. It doesn't make sense to save pennies now and you're putting off the maintenance. Those deferred repairs are going to cost you dollars later on. So again, it's I guess a comparison would be deferred maintenance is like debt with very high interest. The debt eventually is going to have to be paid, but the longer you wait, the more you're going to end up paying for the whole thing. So the basic concept is for road management, particularly, is setting yourself a baseline where you want to keep those roads in that certain condition. Again, you want to avoid getting into the poor aspect of it, but if you can keep them in good, very good condition, again, you try to keep them out there, find your level of service. If you wait too long, again, that reconstruction is going to cost you a fortune. That says $10+ per unit. Every year that 10+ gets larger and larger. But if you can actually maintain it on a regular basis, it's going to be doing that preventive maintenance. It's going to be a lot less expensive, more cost effective, and the road's going to be good most of the time. So again, it's just a little bit different way of looking at it, but it's the basic concept between asset management, and that goes for everything. Roads are obviously one of the more obvious ones and the larger ones we deal with, but it comes to our equipment as well. Again, the best approach when it comes to an asset management plan is just keep it simple. It's a simple process, but again, what you want to do is keep it easy to learn, easy to apply. Make it so again, the idea if you can keep it easy, most decision makers don't necessarily have formal training and all the high-tech software and all that stuff. But if you can keep the process easy, keep it easy to learn, it's going to be a lot easier to maintain. It should be systematic and provide good organized approach to assure that all contributing factors are taken into the account. Again, it's being organized is going to be helpful. Needs to be practical. Again, taking care of the roads and street systems is going to be an ongoing real life activity as far as anything else as well. Taking care of road street systems needs to be workable. It needs to be realistic. You need to know where you're going. It needs to be practical about what you're doing. Needs to be understandable and acceptable. Again, the local board needs to understand what's going on. Why you're constantly doing basic maintenance on a roadway or changing the oil in a vehicle. It just keeps those assets in good shape. Again, there's a number of packages that are out there that can be used, but even a simple pencil and paper go a long way. Again, some of the benefits of asset management, it's efficient use of limited resources. Again, if you know what's going on, it's going to be a lot easier to make decisions. It's going to be able to focus your resources on places where it needs to be done. Again, extending the life of all those assets is going to be beneficial. It allows you to substantiate those results. If you've got some sort of document on what you're doing, some plan in the goal, as far as a goal of where you want to be, you can talk to the boards, you can talk to the public, and substantiate why you're doing certain things. It helps you determine the conditions of each of those assets. Again, once you've got a plan, you understand what's going on, you understand how they're deteriorating. It helps you predict, so to speak, where where that asset's going to be here in a year or two if you don't do anything. It allows you better communication with the public and the board. And you have all that information behind you. You're allowed to basically discuss what your issues are, possibly why you need more funding. Again, just identifying what the problems are, what's going to happen, how those conditions are going to decrease over time. Helps you again communicate those situations with the public and the board. It gives you having all that information, again, maintaining that vigilant observation of all these assets. It's going to give you more accurate information. Again, it's going to help you be able to discuss them. And in the end, for the most part, you're going to have improved cooperation. If everybody understands what's happening, especially if you can reiterate and explain why these things are failing and what's happening, and if we don't do this, then this is going to happen. They may not say it the first year or two, but after a while, they're going to say, "Hey, didn't you say that?" So again, you're going to have improved cooperation over time. They'll start to understand things and see things from the obvious direction of failure. So a simple management approach, essentially, you need to know what you have. You need to develop an inventory, whether it's your equipment, whether it's your signs, whether it's your roadways. Just develop that inventory, itemize each one, get an understanding. At that point, you need to determine what the conditions are. Go out and look at them. Okay, this road's in good shape. This sign's in good shape. Some signs out there are not in good shape. Again, just determine what the condition is. By taking a look, you need to physically look at them. Try to determine what the cause of the stress is or what the failures are. The defect might be causing it. If it's a weak spot in the pavement, maybe you can fix that pothole without repairing the whole road. Your signs are failing because they're full of bullet holes. Well, there's a cause and effect on that one as well. So again, each one, determine what the problems are. Maybe decide what the maintenance options might be. Again, as far as a pavement goes, maybe just a slurry seal or a chip seal or a thin overlay will solve the problems. Again, it's going to be a lot cheaper than tearing the whole road up and redoing it. Again, if you've got a variety of options, if you start to get more extensive, you're going to be able to develop costs for those maintenance options. Just some of those maintenance options, you can just call a contractor up, how much you get per square yard or square foot or whatever it might be. Just by knowing what that inventory is, you can be able to come up with a cost and what that's going to take to repair that. So again, developing maintenance costs for that. And based on how much funding you have, you can pick and choose which ones are a little bit more priority and which ones are going to get you the best bang for your buck. Then developing a plan. Once you know what the conditions are, you know what the costs are going to be, what the proper repairs are going to be, you can develop a plan based on the available funding. Again, to yield the most benefit out of that from the funding you have. And then at that point, you can interactively select and schedule the projects and implementing that plan with regular maintenance inspections and whoops, where'd that go? There we go. Again, identifying what the main failures and major failures might be. Again, you want to try to get the best bang for your buck. If you can keep those roads in good shape, you're going to get a lot more bang for your buck over time. This is an example. We actually offer a CAMP software, Cornell Asset Management Program software at Cornell. If you're a smaller agency and you want to try something, all you have is paper and pencil. We've got a software that's available for a small fee relative to everything else. It's available to anyone. Again, it's pretty basic. If you're interested in it, let us know. We'll work with you if becomes a little bit overwhelming and you don't have the manpower or the time to do it. We set up a summer intern program every spring. We have college students work 10 weeks over the course of the summer that will come in and actually do the evaluations on your road, set the software up, and leave you with a plan, at least a 5-year plan for the following years. And then, like many of the agencies we deal with, they come back every 3 to 5 years and have a student update it. Again, they have a plan. It allows them to follow it, allows them to justify their expenses, gives them a talking point with the board. Many of the agencies actually put it on their website, so people want to know when their road's going to get paved. They say, well, here's our plan. And obviously, any plan is subject to change. Weather comes true, things are going to change. But again, that's overall, that's the ultimate the plan. But with anything, remember, garbage in is garbage out. If you don't get good information, you're not going to necessarily have success with anything. So again, getting good information is going to be critical. But when it comes with pavement management, there's two different levels. Although it sounds complex, it's really pretty basic. Again, the two different levels are, the first level is a network level. That's where the entire network is analyzed to determine which maintenance, repair, reconstruction projects should be funded. The second level is actually a project level. Once you've decided what those repairs need to be, on the project level, you're going to look at individual projects. Okay, the pavement needs to be, this one needs to be reclaimed, or it needs to be replaced, or it needs an overlay. You want to look at the whole thing. What do the signs look like? Is there guide rail problems? Are the culverts poor? Just kind of go through the whole project, and then you take care of that whole project in one thing. So again, it's just different levels. The network level, again, you're looking at the whole network, assessing everything, comparing apples to apples. Then once you get to the project level, that's where you've decided what you're going to do. And then you're going to look at that individual project and take care of all those issues. And that way you don't pave your road and the culvert collapse 2 years later because you forgot to look at the rusty hole, the tube that's in there. Again, the network levels is really where you start. You want to get a big picture of everything. Again, part of that network level, you're going to define limits, particularly in roadways. You're going to define the limits of those roadways. You can't pave 6 miles of road. It's just feasibly not realistic. So again, you may break them down into distances that you can. Maybe there's breaks in the road where the pavement goes from 2 lanes to 3 lanes because you've got a turning lane, or 4 lanes for traffic. You want to break those, define those limits by the different widths or whatever it might be. And in conditions too, you may have a section that goes to a warehouse, and the rest of the road goes to a dead end. So again, they're going to be dealt with in different ways. So again, defining your limits. You want to develop that network inventory. You can identify each one of those roadways. You want to survey your distresses, you can evaluate what the conditions are. Develop maintenance strategies. What do you do to those for that maintenance? You just do overlays, you do chip seals, do mill and fill. Again, develop those maintenance strategies that are going to be useful for you. And you want to determine the funding needs. That's going to dictate everything when it comes to actually doing things. So again, determine what your funding needs, then you can interactively select and analyze those projects and determine which ones we want to do. You can develop a feedback system. How well did those repairs do? How effective was the practice? Did the mill and fill actually work well? Was the chip seal the right solution? Again, you can improve your reliability of your system by using that feedback system to determine whether the decisions were right or wrong. Again, nothing's perfect. Every roads are going to be different. So decisions and solutions may be different for every road that's out there. So again, looking at what you have, again, it's an overall look at the network in itself as a whole. Project level, again, at that point, you're going to identify what the causes of the stresses are. Determine what your maintenance, repair, reconstruction practices are going to be. You want to correct the distress. You don't want to cover it up because it's not going to go away. Select the most cost-effective repair. Again, analyze and then design what those project requirements are. Again, specific for that specific road. Write up contract and then specifications so you get the best bang for your buck. Something to hold the contractors or whoever who's doing the work for your project at. Again, you want to get the best project as possible. So the question is, what what assets should we actually look at? Well, in short, all of them. You're responsible for all of them overall. Roads and streets, obviously, I've talked a lot about that. That's one of the largest assets that towns and counties, and states actually have to maintain, aside from bridges. But when you get to the towns and some of the smaller agencies, you don't get bridges. Culverts are another critical one, and the culverts need to be maintained and inspected and get an idea of what condition they are, because they can cause the roads to fail. You want to look at signs, and there's going to be liability associated with signs if it's covered with brush or if it's unclear. You better bet the lawyers are going to figure out how to deal with that. Guide rail, again, a lot of places they've layered up the asphalt and they've never done anything with the guide rails. So now the guide rails, 6 inches off the ground instead of 22 inches off the ground or whatever it might need to be. Then, of course, our equipment, the things we use every day. So again, should actually kind of have a look at all of that asset. Those are the things that are going to cost you. And if you can be more efficient on all of that, it's going to be a lot more efficient for you. Again, the inventory, with roads and streets, again, some of the inventory you really need to get. If you're diligent, you can go, the New York State keeps a local highway inventory. They do it for counties, they do it for towns, villages. Again, that's part of that report that's submitted every fall, but this local highway inventory keeps track of what various aspects of the roadway itself. Again, the name of the road, specific identification number, there's a length, there's a start point, end point, width, number of lanes, surface material, ID, identifying what the shoulders or curbs are, maybe the traffic. And this might not all be part of the state inventory, but it should be something you look at and keep for yourself. The traffic volume, the type of traffic, trucks can do a lot more damage than an automobile. So again, the type of traffic is going to be critical. And then there's importance. How important is that road? Is it important to get to the hospital? Is it an important road that goes to the school? Or is it just a cul-de-sac with 6 houses? It's really not going to be as important as a lot of the other roads that are in that jurisdiction. It's kind of small here. But this is some of the information you get from the local roads listing. This is just a small example, but you can see the DOT, get the DOT identification number, you get the road name, you get the start of the section, end section. You can see they've broken it into multiple sections, 0 to 4.47 and 4.7 to 0.9, 0.9 to 1.5. It gives you an overall length, number of lanes. Again, gives you a lot of that basic information. Most of the roads, if not all of them, for every agency should be in this manual. Otherwise, you're not necessarily reporting them to the state. But again, that information should be available. And that'll give you a good leg up on developing an inventory for you. Your condition assessment, again, inspecting your assets is the best way to know what the conditions of them are. Once you know where the specific asset stands, with regards to condition, you can start making decisions on what needs to be done to maintain it and keep it in good shape. Again, based on those conditions, is going to basically help you decide what the repairs need to be. And again, identify specific problems. If you have a leaking oil pan, why is it leaking? You got a bad gasket, you have a hole in it. Was the oil filter not put on properly? Was it not tight enough? Again, you're going to be able to identify what the problems are, take a little closer look at it. So again, looking at the different assets as well. The roads too. Do you have one section that's constantly creating potholes? Well, maybe you've got a spring or something underneath there. So again, looking at each one, identifying the problem, help identify what the proper repair is going to be. If you've got a spring under your road, covering it over isn't necessarily going to fix the problem. Maybe you need to get under there, put a pipe out, drain that spring, get the moisture away from the base of the road. Again, assessment resources, if you're looking at pavement, there's a distress identification. This is actually put out by the federal highway. They used to put out manuals like we have right here that you can see. They're all digital now. And again, the distress identification manual basically will like give you what to look at in the various types of roads. You've got asphalt roads, brick roads, concrete roads, a variety of different types of roads that are out there. We also have our pavement maintenance manual. Again, pretty much focused on asphalt in this case. But again, it'll go through what the distresses are, what the causes are, what some of the problems are, what some of the solutions are. Again, this one's available for no cost at all. Just, again, just a request for that, or you can attend our pavement maintenance workshop and we'll go through and, kind of discuss and explain what the problems and the issues and what exactly each of these are. Again, the resources are out there. Again, developing repair costs, determining what the repair costs is going to be an important step in plan development. Again, you want to focus generally on general repairs. You want to try to keep it simple. Once you decide what the project is, you can get into the final detail, final cost. It's going to obviously be a little bit more, but again, keeping it simple is going to help you narrow down what the roads need to be. And obviously, if you have costs that are set there, then they're going to need to be updated on an annual basis. So we all know asphalt's been going up and down for years. So again, that's going to affect what your paving might be. So just keeping an eye on that, updating those repair costs, it's going to be pretty critical. It's again, important step on the whole process. Again, if you don't know what kind of things are going to cost, it's hard for you to plan and budget that out. And again, focus on the overall repair, keeping it simple. As I mentioned, updating those costs. It sounds a bit overwhelming when you're putting a project together, but again, this one's a little difficult to see too, but this is actually a spreadsheet that David's put together. So the idea basically make them a little bigger here. Again, it goes through different things. This page here basically goes into the labor aspect of it. And put your employees down through here, wage rates, total hours worked, and you got a quantity and then a cost per day. Your hours, basically you set your work hour here, 10-hour days, the length and feet, and you can set all the parameters based on what you're doing as far as the pavement goes, or whatever the project might be. So you can get a cost per day. If you're using a piece of equipment, you can determine what that's going to be. It's going to cost you hourly. Even if it's your own equipment, you could put a general cost hourly rate there. It'll give you a general idea of what it's going to actually cost overall. Obviously, if it's your own equipment, you're going to say it's not going to cost anything, but same with your own labor. But again, if you can put those numbers in there or you're contracting it out, it's going to give you a good idea of where you stand when it comes to doing a project. Another page on there goes into materials. What the item is, what the price per unit is, how many units you need, total quantity, how much per day. So it's going to total up the total cost. Anything invoices you might be, if you're renting a paver or renting a roller, whatever it might be, those can be invoices. The unit cost per day, whatever it might be, and then it's going to help tally up all that. And then on the main page, it's going to start giving you totals. It's going to total the length and the width, give you an area. Total up the production costs, essentially materials, invoices, labor, equipment, all that's going to be totaled up. Again, there's a spreadsheet David's put together to go with this. It's just kind of a gloss over on what it is, but it gives you an idea of what things that are out there. Again, this is available to anybody that's interested as well. In developing the plan is going to be critical. Again, based on the needs of the roads. And you want to try to fix the cheaper ones, essentially. You want to maintain your roads in good shape. Use a simple prioritization method. Again, we'll talk about that coming up too. Basically determine what the roads are, the needs of the roads, how to prioritize them. And focus again, as I mentioned, keeping good roads in good condition. That's going to be critical for the long term. Again, you want to focus on extending the life of existing investments. The simple prioritization doesn't use actual cost comparisons. You don't want to compare the costs. That's going to sway any decision. You want it basically to tell you what the road needs, not what the cost of those roads need. You can deal with that later. And a simple one doesn't include future deterioration. Again, there is software out there that can do all of this. But you need to use them pretty regularly for you to, get up to snuff on them and actually be able to function on a regular basis and understand them. And you want something that's easy to modify. And things change pretty quick in a lot of cases. With our software, basically, this is the priority formula we use for the roads and streets. You'll notice the strategy basically is the main factor. We have K factors. Basically, you can put more emphasis on individual factors within this equation as well. We've got the importance, again, the importance of that road to the community, the traffic, mostly the type of traffic, the volume of traffic. You get a number scale on that as well. The condition, again, what's the condition of the road while you're dealing with it? Your drainage is going to be critical for everything when it comes to roadways. And then the roughness, there's going to be a roughness factor, and that's kind of a general overall takes into a lot of the other things we're not necessarily evaluating specifically. So again, the repair strategy basically comes out of the repair category. It's going to be whether it's preventive maintenance, routine, corrective maintenance. And then they're going to be the first that are basically going to be encouraged as far as keeping a good road in good shape. So as the work bar, well, I guess I just mentioned the order of work as far as the repair strategy goes. Preventive maintenance. You want to prevent the road from failing. If you can keep it in good shape, you're not going to have to deal with it over a longer period of time. Routine maintenance, that might be cutting shoulders or clearing ditches or cutting brush back from signs and different things that are out there. And routine things need to be done on a regular basis, maybe striping. Then corrective maintenance, you might get a section that just has a weak spot, maybe a spring or something where you're going to get a pothole. You want to correct that to keep the road overall in good shape. Then there's cases where you're going to defer work. The road's either in really good shape or the road's in really poor shape. Again, you don't want to basically waste your money. You want to fix it properly. Then there's rehabilitation, and then reconstruction, and those are obviously going to be the more costly actions that you can do. And you want to, again, focus. This is the order of work that needs to be done. You want to keep the good roads good, and ultimately you want to rehabilitate or reconstruct some of those poorer roads. This is where they kind of fall on the asset management curve here, from very good to poor, very poor. Again, the routine maintenance is going to be the first, preventive maintenance next, corrective maintenance. Then once you get to a certain point, rehabilitation, reconstruction. Again, as we mentioned earlier, that 70% of the time you're going to have roads are going to be in good shape. That last 40% of the time, 30% is the roads are going to fail. Again, that's where the rehabilitation, reconstruction is going to be. Again, it goes along with road quality and the cost too. If you can maintain them in good to fair shape, it's not going to be as expensive as it is if it gets down to the poor condition. Again, the time is going to vary depending on the road itself, how it was constructed, how it was maintained, how its drainage is. There's going to be a lot of factors that impact the condition of a road, the life of a road. And the focus, again, the right treatment at the right time. Again, let the distress tell you what the needs are, not the politicians. They obviously want to do what's right, but if they're not aware of what's going on, the stressors will tell you what's going on. Is your pavement failing? Why is it failing? Do you have potholes, or do you have just an overall road failure? Maybe the traffic's increased over the period of time since it was designed. Maybe that's causing the pavement to failure. Again, a lot of things to look at, not just the number. And you want to fix the disease, not the symptoms. And you want to make the best investment you can on those repairs to get the right repair. So again, and it goes for all assets. You want to try to fix the problem, not go back and constantly fix them. Culverts are another, and another asset that may be of high priority on the list. Again, taking a look at the different culverts that are out there. Understanding what's there. Again, culverts cross over the roads. If they fail, that's going to reflect on your roadways themselves. As far as a culvert inventory, again, identifying which road it's on, giving each culvert an identification, maybe a location, whether it's GPS or stationing on the road. If there's a skew, an angle to the off perpendicular to the road, going to be important. The depth of that cover, it's going to have an impact on, how long it may last or how large of a pipe you might be able to get in there. Maybe the number of pipes in length, width, height, the shape of the pipe, material, installation. That's going to be all the inventory. That's when you're going to look at each culvert from a book before you get out there. And if you can put together a diagram, that's going to help. Be able to understand what you're dealing with when you go out there and the culvert's failing. We have a culvert inspection form. That's available as well. Goes through again, through where it is, the date of inspection, the weather, the road number, the inventory of the culvert number, the stream name, if it is a stream name, shape of the pipe material. Again, all that information is going to be critical. And if you can have an inventory on what culverts you have, you can have a pretty good idea how many culverts you have. It's not unusual for an agency not to know how many culverts they have. It's also not unusual to discover one that's already failed. Got problems with the road, don't really understand why. No, culvert failed, you didn't know it was there. So again, having that information is going to be critical. Again, all these forms that have been shown here are available. Just let us know. We can get them to you. And when you're evaluating the stresses, damage type, stresses and the damage issues, typically the shape, whether there's a scour issue, condition of the pipe itself, could be rusty or whatever it might be. Maybe the embankments are failing. Maybe the ends, like the picture right here, maybe the ends were beat up by maybe a car accident or a contractor cleaning your ditches or whatever it might have been. Other joints separating. Concrete pipes are known for separating. That can cause problems in your roadway. Is there debris in it? So again, just evaluating, doing an inspection on those culverts. As part of our software, the camp software that we have, we've got culverts in there as well. And this is the culvert priority formula. Again, you've got the K factors where you can multiply. Again, the repair category, importance, traffic, condition, the flow. We've added the aquatic organism passage. In a lot of cases, culverts now need to be considered for organic passage through them. So that's another factor as well. If you don't use that, that can easily be bypassed. So again, it's not the make or break. Signs are another critical thing. And depending on the type of roads and traffic, you may be responsible for a variety of different types of signs. We've got a form for that again. Different types, goes through the location, direction, road name, closest intersection. A lot of the factors that you're going to need to know, just so you can go back if the sign's missing, go back and identify where it was, when it was looked at, and what you need to replace it with. So again, as far as the inventory, again, the road, municipal ID, the type of sign, METC identification number, size, dimension, colors, the legend size. Again, you can go into the plaque material, sign face material, GPS location, side of the road it was on, direction it's facing. Northern signs won't fade as quickly as southern signs just because of the sunlight. Installation date, that might be critical as well. And supplemental signs are something else to take into consideration. Again, they're going to be critical as far as informing the public on what needs to be done, where it needs to be done, what's coming up. So again, takes those same aspects into it: the ID, the municipal METC, the idea, the sides, legend size, colors, installation dates, signposts as well. They're going to be critical. In some cases, you're going to need breakaway hardware. Again, for safety reasons. Again, identifying what type of support you have, number of posts, post types, post size, post material, post base type, installation date. Again, it's going to give you all that information you're going to need to know long term. Again, that's just an inventory, just gathering that information. It's a lot of information when it comes to signs, because there's a lot of signs on every road out there. Well, again, sign inspection, daytime visibility. If it's in good shape during the day, well, then maybe you don't have to do a nighttime inspection. But if it's not in good shape, you're going to want to go back and determine what the reflectivity readings are. Again, the legend, the background, the writing, the background is obviously the background, the color, what the sign condition and what the post condition is going to be. These are all just out there observations at random, so to speak. Again, if you've got a sign that's marginal, you're not sure if it's actually going to work, or you can't see it at night. There's several methods out there within the MUTCD for evaluations. Some are a little bit more complex and time consuming, but again, some are not. Again, different management methods that are out there as well. If you know a life's going to last 10 years, replace them every 10 years. Do a blanket replacement every road facing south, every sign facing south gets replaced every 6 years. Every sign facing north gets replaced every 10 years. Just a blanket replacement, or you can do a control sign, which is a little bit more intense. Requires you to set up signs every time you put a new sign up to see how they decay. It's going to take up a lot more landscape and time. But again, there's different methods out there, and the MUTCD has different ways you can do it. Again, you want to keep safe. Signs are a liability, especially if the lawyers get involved and they can understand why. So again, this sign prioritization. The key signs that you're really interested in are the key warning signs and regulatory signs. Those are the ones that, if are missed, can cause problems, mostly liability. Again, stop and yield signs, the stop ahead, signal ahead signs, intersection warning signs, bicycle, pedestrian, school crossing, do not pass, do not enter, wrong way, keep right way. Things that if the people don't follow them, problems are going to happen. Railroad crossing, turns and curves. Those are the most important ones to start off. Once you've got them done, you can follow up with other warning signs, other regulatory signs, other guide signs. These aren't as critical because they're not necessarily as life-threatening should somebody miss them. And there's guide rail, again, where the road's on, given a municipal ID of that guide rail itself, type of guide rail it is, cable stay, W-beam, whatever it might be, where the location is, start and length maybe, the length of it, side of the road it's on, the rail ends, installation date. Again, the rail condition, that's going to be pretty critical. You may have it up there, but if it's not in good condition, then it may not perform the way it's anticipated. Again, noting with the inspection, you're going to look at the rail condition, post conditions. Are they bent? Are they rusted? Do they have support? Is there vegetation on either side of them? What about the height above the pavement? Again, some of that pavement can get built up, decrease the effectiveness of that rail system, protecting it from getting towards to whatever the danger is that they're in there for. Again, as I mentioned, are they properly bedded in the back? Again, doing regular inspections pretty critical. Knowing where the failures are, and this happened without actually even showing any sign of distress. And that was based on water. You wouldn't think it would affect something like that, but again, if somebody had hit that could have been pretty critical. The equipment, a fleet equipment and fleet inventory. Again, each equipment having an ID, equipment type, date of purchase, anticipated replacement date, life expectancy, repair history. And we've got some of that information as well. That's available. And a lot of that stuff, if you need it and you're interested in having some of this, we can get it to you. And it's simple paperwork, but again, if you have all this information, not only is it going to help you plan for the future, but it may help you in the court of law as far as any kind of accidents or damages. Again, fleet inspection forms. There's annual inspection, daily driver. I drove for UPS for a period of time. Every day we took the truck out, we had to walk around the truck, and make sure that every light worked, every wiper worked, that nothing was broken. And if it was, we needed to document it, and then did the same thing on the way back. And then daily driver logs, so essentially. And when we brought those vehicles back in, they would make the repairs and fix them. So by morning, those trucks were safe again. Again, same with equipment. So we got a lot of different forms. Again, this is an equipment inspection form. And these are available. We've already put them together. We've got them available. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Well, again, it's a network process. It's a simple process. Again, develop an inventory, assess the conditions of each of those assets, develop a maintenance and rehab alternatives, sign repairs alternatives, prioritize the maintenance, and generate reports and budgets. Basically, keep records is what that comes down to. Again, if you can't document what you've done, you're kind of hanging there. Good intentions aren't really good in the court of law. So you want to protect yourself and have that documentation. Part of the implementation, again, communicating with the board, the authority that basically approves the money and understands, they need to understand why and where you're spending that money. In some cases, we've had a lot of cases with the camp program where the town boards realize, hey, we got to fix these roads, and what we're allowing them isn't going to work. So they've actually delegated more money toward the highway departments. So again, showing them sometimes it helps educate the board. Scheduling your work, again, focusing on what needs to be done, keeping good stuff good, and then scheduling that work and identifying the plan and sharing it. And then regular updating. Those maintenance and repairs go in, update that. So the next set of not so good equipment or road repairs or whatever it might be, rise to the top. Updating that information, keeping it up to date. And some of the benefits of asset management becomes an efficient use of limited resources. Again, a lot of times we just don't have the funds to fix things. So if we can be a lot more efficient with the funding, that's going to be critical in spending the money where it needs to be. It allows you to substantiate the results, why you're spending the money there. Again, if you can explain that keeping the good roads good, it's going to be a lot easier to substantiate results on why you're doing. A lot of people say, well, this road's really poor. Why didn't you spend your money there? Well, you can keep the good roads in good shape. You're going to get a lot more life out of them and a lot more bang for your buck. Again, determine what the conditions are. It's going to, once you know what your conditions are, you're going to be able to explain what the problems are, how to fix them, where they're going to be. Again, provides for better communication. That's communication with the board, communication with the community. If everybody knows, no secrets in spending that public funding, you may as well help them out. And a lot of times they'll actually see it your way. And that's critical. So you don't get the complaints. Again, with all this information, you're going to have more accurate information. And that's going to be very critical overall. Again, it's going to improve your cooperation with everybody if you can be able to have that accurate information and substantiate those results. So it looks like we're getting close. We'll start with question 1. Amanda, you still awake?
Still here and paying attention. Let's see if everybody else was too. So we have network level pavement management systems focus on the details of a specific project to develop a final plan. True or false? Beautiful. The answers are pouring in. You guys, a few more seconds. All right. And it looks like majority say false.
False is correct. I talked about earlier in the discussion here, basically that the network level looks at the overall pavement management system, looks at the overall project, all of the projects, and then once you get to the project level, that's where you get into the nitty gritty. You look at the details, the culverts, the issues that are associated with it. So false is correct. Next question. You canceled me out. Let's see.
See, PDH question number 2, a simple asset management process does not include easy to learn method, a systematic, good and organized approach, a practical method, be understandable and accepted, predict the future conditions. Guys, a few more seconds. All right. Looks like overwhelmingly predict the future conditions.
And that one would be correct. Easy to learn. Again, if it's going to be simple, you want it to be easy to learn. Systematic and good. Again, you want it to be something that's organized. Again, easy to use, systematic. Something that's going to be an organized approach. And of course, practical method. Again, something that's understandable, something you can share. So the last one is correct. It doesn't predict the future of the conditions. See if I can get this thing to move. Question 3.
Pavement management focuses on keeping good roads good. True or false? All right, people know the answer to this one. Overwhelmingly true.
Yeah, the answer is true. You want to keep good roads good, and then over time work on those poorer roads and bring them up to condition. If you spend all your money on a poor road, those good roads that are borderline are going to fail, and you're going to have a lot more to fix with a lot more cost associated with them. So the answer there would be true. Question 4.
Our last PDH question, a good inventory is essential for an asset management program. True or false? Ooh, looks like we have 100% on this one. 100% true.
Beautiful. I got the message across on that one. Yeah, true is correct. All right. Thank you. Let's see if we can get rid of that in my screen. Again, there are alternatives. Again, this is an AASHTO publication that's out there. Oops. Somehow I went backwards, but an AASHTO publication that's out there is, again, talks about transportation asset management, the benefits, the strategies, organization. Again, it's a lot more complex. They're dealing with larger systems with a lot more funding. But again, there are other ways that are out there. And if you're interested in some help, let us know. We've got our CAMP software program. It's available to anyone for a nominal fee. Yeah, want to do it on your own, you have some questions, let me know. We helped write it. We did write it, David and I, and had programmers work with us. So essentially, we do have some stuff that's available. If you want to be part of the CAMP program, again, reach out to us, let us know, and we'll get a student out for you and have them do all the legwork. But essentially, that is it. Thank you for your time. And again, if you have questions, let me know.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you guys for attending today. Have a great day.